What if every experience, every hardship, every obstacle was given to you, not to break you, but to mold you and strengthen you? What if the center of your suffering was actually the key to ultimate health? And what if your own pain was meant to be the catalyst for your greatest purpose? Welcome to Buddha Belly Life, empowering purpose, mind to microbiome. Welcome to the Buddha Belly Life podcast. I'm Coach Britt, and this month we're actually covering a class just for health coaches, and I guess anybody who may be interested in health coaching, but this one's actually going to be directed to my HWCA coaches at the Gut Health School, and everyone else will actually really benefit if you have any interest in stuff like this. If you've thought about or you hold any kind of wellness profession, you're going to get some great info out of this. So what we want to talk about today, though, is why most health coaches don't take themselves seriously. What's happening here and why this is creating a large number of wellness professionals, trained and certified health coaches, and the like, who are not practicing or who haven't done much with their businesses or haven't done what they wanted to or want to. And this is really unfortunate. And so what we're going to cover today, because if you guys know anything about me, you know it's always my mission to not just educate, but empower, right? That's what we do with our clients. That's what our biggest thing is with our clients. It's how we coach. That's also how we coach the coaches. This is how I coach coaches as well. So if we're looking at our clients, right, what's our job? Our job is we're there to educate them and give them information, resources, tools, connect them to our Rolodex of options and professionals. We're there to support the process and empower them into a better state, into the things that they desire. Okay. And if we're not doing that for our own selves, in our own life, in our own businesses, and anything that we desire, then we're not going to achieve it any more than your clients won't achieve it. Okay. And often we don't look at it that way. I think that a big part of the social media world that we live in now, it has had pros and it has had cons. And this isn't the first time that you guys are going to hear me talk about this, right? But the pros are that you can be seen. You can be seen now. You can put yourself on a lot of different areas without having to invest a lot of money in only doing ads or having a super expensive website built. There's so many DIY options now. It's easy to get seen. You can have media accounts, which most people go to, at least to validate your existence and your sincerity of what you do, to know about you, etc., right? And you can build brand rapport through social media. You can get seen, you can drive traffic and create visibility. But the problem is if you don't understand business as a whole and we're just relying now on being seen, the extra problem is that in a social media day and age where there is so much external stimuli, people have short attention spans. So while it's easier to get seen, it's harder to get heard. Okay. And if people can't hear you and connect with you, then there's a way lower chance that they're going to want to work with you. So one big thing, so what I'm trying to help coaches do more and more is get out of that atypical mindset right now, where we go and we put all our stuff out there on social media, or we do our content or whatever, and wait for that to be enough to bring people to us. There's a lot of reasons why, but there's a few basic fundamentals of why health coaches aren't taking themselves seriously enough. And this is standing in the way of getting them into the industry, an industry which frankly is not oversaturated. It's just underutilized. Okay. Because so many people, if you guys really know your stuff and you do it well with confidence and consistency, then there will be results amongst people. And a lot of the typical population now is lost. They're not getting the results that they want working with modern medicine. They're sick of feeling bad. They're sick of not having answers. They're sick of not understanding. So especially our coaches that work with gut health, like we know what a miracle working in the microbiome is, right? The kind of stuff we see when we work on the gut in a holistic fashion, right? With our stress, with our mindset, with our diet, with our bodies, that the results we see can be phenomenal. And this speaks volumes, and plenty of people want that. They need that. So if we're not practicing, why? Okay. Why? Why don't you have clients? Why aren't you taking people? Why isn't your practice, your business, your product, your whatever, where you want it to be? Okay. And this is where we're going to go into this. A lot of coaches, I'd say one of the number one issues with health coaches that are not very active, and they're certified in everything, all right? We get like addicted to education, which is awesome because we should always keep learning. But without the application, we were not going to see the reason for all of this into fruition. Okay, so one of the number one things that why coaches don't take themselves seriously is they're not taking themselves seriously in two different ways. Okay, so one may be we don't think that we are healthy enough to give somebody else health advice. Maybe we're not healthy enough. This is something that I want you guys to really think on. This is a kind of a complex piece of the puzzle here. You don't need to be, okay? You don't need to be perfect. You're never going to be a master. And health will ebb and flow. Like I say, like we always say, healing is not linear, right? So health will ebb and flow. How do you still deliver? I've still had to deliver. I've been doing this now for 8 years. I've delivered throughout multiple hard times in my life, in my health, in my personal life, in my mental health, right? But what's cool is that getting back to the center of what I know it's not always a quick fix, but it always leads back, and it's holistic, right? There's times that it was really dialing in some stuff with my diet that did it. And there was times that it was really deep-rooted emotional healing and therapy and mindset work that did it, right? But what the thing is that's what we do. We have to, be on this journey. So it is important to self-evaluate though. Right? And people aren't going to take me very seriously if I'm not walking enough of my talk. I don't need to walk this line perfectly. Okay. I teach people how to do protocol. I mean, we have the opportunity to put them on on a pretty regimented, a regimen that's pretty intense if they choose, but that's just so that they know they can have the opportunity to choose the deepest process of restoration. There are a lot of people, they're sick of feeling sick. They want to see results. They want this inflammation to go away. They want the mental health stuff to get better. They want to live again. They're sick of being in pain and suffering. So they're going to be more apt to do more dramatic, investments in these processes, right? But that's not the only way we do it. We just offer all that information so an individual gets to choose, right? But just because we offer that information doesn't mean I'm living in full protocol every moment of my life because it's what I lead and teach, right? No, it doesn't suit me. I have maintenance times, and then I'm human. I have times where I've strayed a little farther from maintenance than I may want, and my body will warn me, and and it's my choice on whether or not I get back in alignment. And so we don't need to be perfect, but if I'm living completely outside of my values, of what I teach, of what I'm supposed to be here helping people with, then there will be an incongruence there. And, Tony Robbins always talks about that. When we have a lack of congruence, a way that we see ourselves versus how we believe we should be, or our expectation of ourselves, then it creates an internal turmoil. And we'll see things like shame, denial, frustration. A lot of negative emotions come from that incongruence because we're not meeting that, right? And the same thing will come if we think we need to be perfect in order to do something, right? So when it comes to our own health, you guys, it is essential in order to take yourself seriously as a health coach. It's essential to be a health coach that lives like a health coach, that does take your health into high priority, okay? But who also heavily evaluates what that means for you so that you're not stuck on that perfectionism bandwagon. Because what I can tell you is, as perfect as you may think it is, if you're in that when you get in that zone sometimes, your diet's perfect, you're measuring all your food, your macros and your workouts, and you're at this percentage of body fat. But I can tell you for most of these guys too, if that is such an intense preoccupation, then usually it's the other areas that aren't as healthy. There's areas of our mental, emotional, or spiritual states that are lacking there because we're tipping the scale really far in that direction. And so in return, we're still not really walking our talk. Walking our talk is the humanness of being healthy, right? And only you can decide what that looks like for you, for your practice, for your lifestyle, for your, what you do. But it's important to sit with that and think about that. Okay. And you can. Here's the thing. If you're somebody who's like, you know what, I've not been, maybe you're a certified coach or you want to get there and you're like, I haven't been living the lifestyle that I want to in order to jump into something like this or start taking clients. But you know what? You don't need to get yourself to a certain place before you start executing and working with people. Sometimes the most successful coaches are the ones who bring people in on their own journey. Okay, we're going through it too. And so, especially when you're going through more than just weight related things, right? I mean, in the wellness world, I feel like weight has been such a, weight loss and stuff like that. The physical body has been such a preoccupation that we forget all the other things we're trying to grow through.
Do you have a desire for fulfillment? Does helping people tap into their own health mentally, emotionally, and physically fire you up? Do you believe in the impact of the gut microbiome on overall wellness? You may be an HWCA coach. For more info on our cutting-edge health coach trainings, visit hwcacoach.com.
For me, when my adrenals were really shot, like it's taken a couple months to get my body in an alignment before I even started seeing some of the physical changes that would come with that. Because we had to do that internal work first, like not just the internal spiritual work, but then the internal work of how your body's functioning, how the adrenals are functioning, how the gut looks, how your metabolism's working. All of those things, they impact it. So sometimes during a process of restoration, we're restoring a lot of things that we don't see, but we can feel. And that's really important. So as long as, you've got to be on that path yourself. Okay. And decide what's right for you, because it's not just so that other people take you seriously, you guys. I mean, I've been doing this for so long. Coaches don't take themselves seriously. I actually think we are harder on ourselves than anybody watching us most of the time, because we know all the deep, dark secrets. We know the ins and outs of our every moves 24/7. And so sit with that and coach yourself first. Give yourself a healthy foundation to stand on. Say, am I being overly obsessive or perfectionist? Am I being, am I not really paying a lot of attention to my health? Am I being very codependent where I'm out there to help everybody else, but I'm not helping myself well? I gotta, you deserve to coach yourself first, to be your own, what's the word I'm looking for here? To be your own success story in a multitude of ways. And this can be mentally, emotionally, physically, likely it'll be all of the above. And so that's what we want to do. That's a big thing that holds coaches back, is not taking themselves seriously, as in walking their talk. And sometimes this is because they're not really doing stuff that they want to be doing. Sometimes it's that they see that they're not doing things that they believe they should be doing. They're not as perfect as they believe they should be. So that's something to just sit with and decide for you where you stand with that. The other thing that helps coaches not take themselves seriously is that they don't see themselves as an actual practitioner. They don't see themselves as a business owner. They don't see that. They're waiting for the external world to validate that instead of stepping into that role now, regardless of if you've had a lot of clients or not. You are still, if you've gone through, training or whatever, you're still a certified coach. You've registered a business name with the state, like you own a business. Okay. Nobody's taking that away from you. That is true. We don't need to wait for external sources to validate us so that we feel that we are real or that we are good enough to do this. Okay, because unfortunately, waiting for that makes it really hard to take ourselves seriously, which then will impede our ability to get clients and move forward with our business and the things and our practices in the ways that get it going that we needed to do. Okay. And so taking your business seriously, and you guys, this is really important. That's why we did, if you haven't done it yet, we did the How to Design a Gut Health Coaching Practice free training. It's on hwcacoach.com. You can go thegуthealthschool.com and get there too. We've gotten a few different places, but this has been really great for people because it breaks down a lot of the business and you can see how actual business is done. Enough to then evaluate kind of how you're going about stuff, right? Because if you're not going about things like a business, you're going to have a really hard time having a business that moves. So learning business is really important too. And then implementing these steps in the process. Okay. Because in there, obviously, we talk about things like your niche. We talk about, lead generation, having a platform, brand awareness, getting people to know you. All of these things are business. So you got to learn business. You're going to have to put your business hat on, which can be really hard for people in the coaching world because often a lot of coaches are very empathetic personalities, right? We want to give, we want to help. Like this is how we got here. So charging money for things, thinking very technical, just learning business isn't everyone's easiest thing to tackle in this industry. And so that's why we try and help you do it. So make time outside of a creative window, okay? Because we can be very creative minded. We love coming up with the names and maybe the photos and the web page and all that stuff and what we're going to do for people, but we don't actually get in our technical brain and figure out business. If you were going to start a business for someone else, it's going to have some key components. Are you putting these key components in? Okay. Are you designing your own business like a business? Because if not, it's going to be like a hobby and then you will have a hobby and maybe that's fine for you. But if it's not fine for you, then please step in and learn business. Okay. And there's all kinds of resources. We do it all the time. I cover it on the masterminds all the time. You guys show up to the masterminds, coaches. For everybody else, you can find stuff on YouTube that we do. For all my coaches in their membership, there's so much stuff. Okay. And like I said, that free course, how to design a gut health coaching practice, that's awesome too. So learn some things about business, study it, YouTube it from other people. I mean, there's so many ways to do this. Okay. Another thing that we got to do. Okay. So let's say we're learning business. Okay. We've set up a business machine. Let's say we've actually done the things. We've created a niche. We've created products. We've created, because you can't just sell in coaching. And this is a mistake a lot of coaches make actually too, is they think they're just going to get clients and provide services. That is way too vague and people don't understand that. You really need to have time frames on things like 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, things like that. People need to feel that there's a start and an end and they need to see the value in it. And then if you have some kind of a maintenance option or something that is monthly, or monthly, just, touch base sessions, it needs to be well explained. So they need to see a start and an end and they need to know what they're getting in that. And it needs to be attractive to them. So if you're vague, it's too vague for someone else most of the time to want to sign up with. And what you'll see too is sometimes you have like an expertise in a certain area. Maybe like you do have a decent social media following or you've gotten a lot of interaction about something, speaking on a certain niche or topic. Like maybe you've dealt with thyroid stuff. And so you've overcome a lot of things. And so you might have a lot of people reach out to you and want to get tidbits of information from you, which is cool. But the problem is if you don't have something to offer that's understandable, people like that don't just like necessarily pay you to work with them. So they may think, think that it's like that. You may think, well, gosh, they're reaching out, asking me questions. They're following me. They're interacting with a lot of my stuff. But again, you still need clear products and services with beginning and end. They need to see what this means. They need to know what they're getting or they're going to have a hard time committing and paying actual money for this stuff. They'll just be the people trying to ask you for, can you help me with this? Ask you questions, coming through your DMs and really draining you. And this will work against your business. So as much as you want to learn the business, guys, the next step too is then be consistent. So once you have created something, whether or not you have a client, you need to have systems in place where you are investing regularly in that business. Okay, so it's going to be maybe your brand awareness, you're teaching on stuff, you're reaching out, you're working leads, you're trying to get leads, you have stuff like that in place, and you need to figure out how many hours a week are going into this business and show up consistently for the business. This is one of the biggest things that I see amongst entrepreneurs in general is a lack of a business machine. It's just kind of janky. They're kind of going reactively, and then lack of consistency. And the problem is then we rely on emotional motivation. And emotional motivation is not reliable. So it is going to make your business inconsistent. It may throw things off so much that you don't even feel like you're doing anything or anything's coming of anything that you're doing. Okay, so there's something about compartmentalizing your workspace, your time, and showing up consistently with the tasks at hand. Because even if they don't turn a result or a perceived result in the moment, there's a compound effect of showing up consistently. Eventually it will. So maybe you've taught on certain content and you've reached out to people and you've done some stuff to try and get leads, and you've done this for a week and nothing happened. But maybe after 3 weeks, someone books a call with you. Okay, like you can measure that. Instead of thinking like, oh, it must be what I did today that got that call booked with me. No, it's probably what you've done for the last 3 weeks. And that is the beginning of a real business, is seeing it through and doing it that way, because then you know that, okay, this amount of effort, it builds upon itself. You got to keep showing up even if nothing's happening. And when you feel like nothing's happening, okay, part of it might just be in your head. We're impatient. We are impatient people. So sticking it through, being patient is important, but then also making time to evaluate your systems. Okay, there's a huge break here. I really don't know where to go for leads. My content I'm putting out there isn't doing enough, or it's not driving traffic. We're not getting subscribers that want my freebie or, sign on to my YouTube account. Like, it's not happening. So then the question can become, okay, how do I change that part of my machine? And that's how you tweak an entire business machine, is little by little, and you just keep showing up. So in the beginning, let's say you work another job, you've got small kids, maybe life is crazy. You devote 4 hours a week to your business, 2 hours a week to your business, but make it consistent and know what you're doing in that time frame. Okay, make sure that you're meeting, if you've learned some things about business, if you go through the free course or you've done anything, you've developed your business machine, then make sure you're meeting those points, the things that you need to do to make the business machine go in that allotted time each week, and show up for it weekly, because after a while of doing this, you guys, you will see results. You will see results. And this is what most people miss. They just don't show up. They fail to develop a system, and then they fail to execute it consistently. Because even if your system sucks and it's not super effective and it's not getting you much, still, eventually, even a crappy system will yield something eventually. Okay, so we don't want it to take that long. So that's where evaluation comes in. We come in and then we're able to evaluate our system. We've executed it for a month, but we're not seeing anything on this and this and this. And we break it down piece by piece. And if you have the resources, like coaches, you guys have us, like you have the monthly masterminds, you have your closed group. Like, this is how you move through those obstacles of your business machine. That is what we do so that you can keep going. There's literally no way to fail unless you quit. I know you've probably heard that a million times, but it doesn't become real until it becomes real. You know how you can hear something and you can completely understand it on a cerebral level, but not on an emotional level? Do you ever do that? You're like, it didn't click till it clicked. Like, it didn't click because I didn't feel it. I didn't agree with it. It didn't become, something that really weighed in heavily with me until it did. Okay, that's one of those things. Consistency. The only way to fail is if you quit. And so you're not showing up anymore. Okay. And you're not showing up consistently. Okay. So if you don't have what you want, and I can tell you this for certain right now, if you don't have clients, if you don't have a business, okay, or you don't have what you want out of your business, okay, it's because of one of two things. Either you're not showing up, let's say 3 things. You didn't develop a system to be able to execute consistently, which is still going to come down to consistency. So you're not consistent, or you're not patient, or a combination of both. Okay. Because, and this is crazy how this works, you guys, because I've been through it myself. I've been through it with my partner. Like, I've been through it with so many people, but we're like, hey, I know it feels rough right now. Like, it seems like your business is dead. It feels like you can't get anybody. This is a hard time of year. This is a hard time of the economy, all that, and that might mean, in certain months, at certain times of life, at certain times of the economy, you have to work harder for the same result because, it's a downturn economy. It's a slow month. We just had the holidays. Like, that's how life goes. You might have to work harder to see the same numbers, but as long as you're consistent, you should still be seeing momentum. Or be creating it if you haven't seen it yet. And often we just get too impatient. We got to be patient and keep seeing it through, because we need we need some time of doing this consistency to even be able to turn around and then tweak what maybe isn't doing it right. What we tend to do is this is what a lot of coaches tend to do, and people in general in business. They put something out there and if anyone responds to anything, then they try and roll with that. So we end up sometimes creating a whole new wheel, sometimes a whole new business or service or whatever to try and get that to catch because we weren't patient enough to just be consistent with the first part of it. And then guess who's confused? Okay, we're probably confused. Our audience is for sure confused. Your ideal client doesn't even know which one they are, or they're just confused at what exactly you do, or it's harder for them to lock in and get connected with you for a certain service or product because they see you doing so this or that, or like changing your mind so much. So it's inconsistent. So if you portray inconsistency with people, you show up here and then you don't, you're on this train and then you're on that train, you're going to have to, it's just going to be a lot of extra work for you because it's going to be harder. You're not getting that footing. Okay. So business is all about getting that footing, and that footing is done with consistency and patience. Okay. Hear me out. So that simplifies the whole thing, you guys. As complex as your coaching business can be, what is holding coaches back is consistency. It truly is. And patience, because consistency requires so much patience. Like patience is just not a virtue. And it's being like bred out of us, right? With social media and all this, like, I can get any kind of information I want in a heartbeat. And if it takes time loading, I get frustrated because it should be fast. My kids, they don't even know what commercials are anymore. They can pull this and this and this. Like when I was growing up, I had to, my husband and I were talking last night because we were watching, with the family, we were watching, what is it? The talent show one. Anyways, you guys know what I'm talking about probably, but anyways, we were watching it with them and there was built-in commercials because the thing we were streaming it on. And we're like, remember when our parents would have us get ready for bed on commercials? Like we'd be like, okay, go brush your teeth. And then we had to be diligent because if we dinked around, we missed the rest of the show. America's Got Talent. That's what I was trying to get at. But yeah, if we were dinking around, then like, well, sad for you. You missed the rest of the show. And now it's still time for bed anyway. So we were on it, because we had these commercials. Like our kids don't even hardly know most of the time what this is. And so they don't need to cultivate patience. And us as adults, we're learning to uncultivate it within ourselves too, because our environment is supporting that, not having patience and not being consistent. So I can tell you right now, if you want to make your entire life easier and simplify everything you've ever heard about coaching, you need two things. You need consistency and you need patience. Okay. And that's if you develop a business machine. And either way, you have a business machine. If there's anything you're doing that's consistent, then you have a business machine. It just may be lacking a lot of parts because you haven't invested the time into learning or putting together and assembling those parts that it needs. Or the parts may be janky because, again, we're just learning. We haven't done it yet. Okay. But even a janky machine is still a machine and it can still be ran consistently. And then it can be improved upon when you get to that space. So start cultivating that consistency and that patience with that and feel accomplished. That's what's hard. And I've noticed this, like, I feel like we feel accomplished when we see a real big win, right? When you get a sale, something like that. But sometimes we need to feel accomplished just for being consistent. And this is the same, you guys, it's crazy. Take all this information as coaches and apply it to your clients because this is the same thing for them. Okay. You're building a machine. Oops, sorry. Would never be a real podcast if I didn't hit the mic. But you're helping them build a machine, a process, and then you're supporting them in executing it consistently and tweaking the pieces that are falling out of place. You guys, it's the same thing. So if you think you don't have the skills to be a business owner or be a successful coach or get success for your coaches, well, then you're not hearing this one message because it's the same message for both pieces of what you do. Creating the business and servicing the client is the same exact thing. Okay. And you'll learn as you go. So I hope this was a good one, you guys. This is a little short and sweet. We've got some great stuff coming at you next month. For all of my coaches, for everyone listening, thank you for joining us today. And for all of my coaches, you guys, there's going to be bonuses in your membership portal that go along with this podcast. And we're going to talk about it on our monthly mastermind. For everybody else, feel free to check out that free course. You can see that at enrollhwca.com as well. And until next time, you guys, thank you so much for joining us on another awesome podcast.
Thank you for joining us for another empowering episode of Buddha Belly Life. For more information on gut health and mindset resources, visit buddhabellylife.com. And remember, heal yourself, and then empower others to do the same.